Hello and welcome to another jungle tutorial. My name is Virkayu and today we're going to look at ways in which you can dominate the enemy jungler to be 3 levels ahead at crucial stages in the game. With all the talk about catch-up XP and how it's terrible, and yes, it may not be perfect, it's designed so that you don't have a level 9 jungler versus a level 3 jungler with literally no way to be in the game. However, through fast farming, smart counter ganking, and jungle intuition, you can make sure you're the jungler that's in control. We're going to look at 2 different ways in which you can do this. The first game is more useful in most cases in ranked brackets because it doesn't contain a lot of risk while focusing on your own jungle farm and ganking, counter ganking efficiency. While the second example rewards your team if the laners are equal or ahead and you're busy annoying the enemy by living in his jungle. You need to move around the map with purpose, with creativity, all while being in the mind of the enemy jungler. Being so far ahead usually requires the enemy simply to be way more inactive, a slow farmer, or someone who's made a mistake. It's how you take hold of their mistakes and begin a lifetime of punishment. In the first example you see how, because I don't need a leash, my bot lane are able to cheese the enemy. Elise makes an error at level 2 and tries to help the Tahm Kench, but she has no cocoon, the enemy isn't in the area and she foolishly dies. My immediate reaction is to steal her red and ward the area around it. I didn't want to be too greedy and try to take Raptors because of course she spawns very quickly at this point in the game. I take the Scuttle Crab, I take my blue, and I make my presence known top lane when I see that Elise has passed her red in case she tries to get a gank off. I know from a pathing extrapolation that she's headed towards the Krugs. I head over there to apply pressure, but back off when Aurelia rotates, as needlessly dying here wouldn't be a very good idea. I just wanted to be in the mind of Elise that I'm tracking her and she needs to consider me at all times. And this is where we begin the XP snowball. I keep an eye on top lane while I'm farming and know Elise will be pressured into ganking because of her slow start. I see her moving up from the ward I placed earlier and I quickly move to do a counter gank using the lane bushes. Because I moved at the right time, I didn't hesitate, I sneak in unseen and we grab a nice counter kill. She doesn't have a flash and she can do nothing about it. She's 0-2-0 and we have the control. However, after going back and farming, I see she's down on XP, but we get a little over aggressive in the mid lane and I chase the Corki and I die because of my miscalculated flash. I knew Elise was there, I should have just backed off, but you know, we get greedy sometimes, everyone happens. It's still a bad mistake, but I don't really get punished for it because I am so far ahead, it just sort of brings Elise closer to my level. Even so, we both return to farm our jungles, no ganks really happen, just a few standoffs, and the next time I meet Elise is when she's again trying to enter in my jungle and ward it up. Unfortunately for her, I'm right there and I now have a 2-level lead on her plus significantly better vision. And because I was able to farm much faster with my Tiamat and she wasn't able to get a gank off because of good vision by my team, I'm ahead. After 3 attempts of ganking mid, J4 does come down and we finally kill the Corki. Now Elise thinks this is her time to get back in the game, she's just hit 6 and she's going to move bot lane. But I'm Warwick, I see her because of the river vision, and I'm fast as well. And this is why it's important to watch the map and have good river vision. The more information you have on the enemy jungler, the more you can control them. You can use pathing extrapolation and jungle intuition to see where they're going to be next and start ahead to cut them off. We have a successful counter game bottom lane, and because of the kills and pushing the wave up, I'm now level 8 to her level 6. You're probably thinking that she'll just catch up in XP from farming. This is true, but if I'm farming faster than her and counter ganking everything she does, she's only losing out. Catch-up XP is a huge thing if you're actually grabbing kills against the people that are higher level than you and you're actually still farming efficiently. She does do just that on the top side. As you see here, she ganks top lane and gets a kill. But I move to solo the dragon and I immediately turn to the bottom side. And I decided to flash E the Ashe because I know Tahm Kench is just going to eat her if I ult. So I figured I could maybe flash E both of them. Sadly, Ashe has good reactions and I receive an arrow to the face. Nevertheless, with a nice Alt-E combo, we clean it up, get the tower, I collect another minion wave with the Caitlyn, and the Corki roaming bot lane doesn't seem to understand how far ahead Caitlyn and I are. Elise is simply farming too slowly, she doesn't have the right vision and she's being too hungry for skirmishes and ganks and kills when she's not in the position to do so. She's not doing a terrible job, but for everything she does, I'm making sure to try and do twice as much. Shortly after the bot lane tower falls, we have another fight mid lane where my whole team reacts quicker and I do my first true bit of counter jungling, taking her blue buff and her gromp. By focusing on farming your jungle quickly and immediately reacting to ganks from the enemy because you have sufficient vision, you will be able to have a much stronger experience advantage than the enemy jungler. If you're going to take the kills or be rewarded the kills as well as some lane minions and waves while pushing towers, be sure that you understand you are not carrying with this lead and it's on you to make the difference. It's on you to stay on top of the enemy jungler so they don't catch up. If you're going to be in a situation where you make a mistake and they kill you, they kill your laners, you let them take a lot of jungle farm without pressure, then of course they're going to catch up in levels. If they're trying to force things to catch up instead of warding, farming and playing it safe, you can continually punish their desire to fight when they're behind. A big part of having this kind of XP lead is because you counter the enemy jungler's every move and then clear your jungle. Don't focus on clearing your jungle and then move out to see what you can do, because you end up like the Elise. You want to clear your jungle when all is quiet, and not at the expense of losing objectives and losing out to ganks when you could counter gank or be proactive in your response. A little bit later, after a bad fight at the dragon where we greed and die, it's okay, it's just a slip up. We make sure not to do it again so we can keep our lead consistent and continually growing. We steal a blue buff, and I see Elise ganking the top once again because of overextension and no wards by my team. But this is foolish because of the pressure we have on the mid lane and the bot lane in terms of minion waves as well as the amount of champions we have. Jarvan and I combo nicely to take out the Ashe, we get the tower, and then we get another minion wave. As I freeze the frame here, you can see my 3-level lead on Elise. Every time she ganked, I also ganked, and I also took an objective. Every time she was farming a camp, I was farming 2 camps and ganking or reacting to anything she was doing. Every time she ganked near me, I counter ganked and we came out ahead. All these things add up to pressure. When you have pressure, vision, and are using your jungling instincts to mirror her decisions, and we'll talk about that in another video of course, you completely shut her down. You don't always have to hard counter jungle to do so, and this is what I'm trying to get across. Just making sure you are doing more on the map is enough to have that lead. Especially if you're the one gaining the kills, you will of course have a bigger experience lead in that situation if you're only taking assists. So remember, hard counter jungling isn't the only way to gain a 3-level lead. Counter ganking and keeping the pressure while farming your own jungle faster than they're farming it is enough to do so. Obviously at this point in the game now everyone is ahead, and I've used my kills and fights to get other people kills and gold. And whenever you've pushed the map up this far, of course, make sure you're taking the jungle at this point. Every time you fall back from a siege or a push, steal their jungle, ward it up, and then go back. You'll see I didn't really counter jungle much, only with 10 CS in her entire jungle during the game, but that's compared to 0 from her and more than 25 extra in my own jungle than she got in her jungle. Pathing is crucial in games like this, and if you can be more efficient than the enemy, you'll gain and maintain an experience lead over the enemy. Okay, let's move on to the next game. In this one, I'm against the Fiddlesticks, and it's important to understand your jungler matchup. If you're a stronger 1v1, you need to apply more pressure to them than otherwise. If you're the more passive jungler, don't go running into their jungle thinking you can kill them. Play the game accordingly. After a normal start, I see him gank top at level 3. From this, I don't even need to look. I know he hasn't done red because of the timing. I immediately move over with the goal of taking his raptors and his red, but my mid laner makes the enemy one shot and I'm in the perfect situation to capitalize. Remember, it's important when counter jungling to make sure you're watching the lanes and if they're pushing into the enemy tower so your laner can help out first if they need to, and to see if there's anyone low that you can come and kill from behind. Because of this kill, I am unable to steal this red. I do try it, I probably shouldn't have, but it's more than enough of an advantage to get the raptors and the kill, and now we all know where Fiddle is on the map, and that's also crucial information. Once again, the enemy makes a mistake, and this is where the snowball experience will begin. Fiddle's mistake was thinking I went back, so he thought, I better counter jungle his counter jungling. And secondly, he thought that he could beat me in a 1v1. He was wrong on both accounts. Now, as with the Elise game, how can I snowball this experience lead? In this game, my lanes are doing very well, so I decided to completely live in his jungle. When I run into him again, he's only down 1 level, and I see he's probably heading to his blue jungle. I quickly run around and prepare to fight, but he actually goes bot side to take his Krugs and to try and gank bot lane. Because of a nice Tribush ward for my support, I see this and I completely clean out his top side, including his second blue buff. If you're a jungler, please be aware of the timers on your buff spawns. It's so easy to steal if you aren't aware of them. You need to time your pathing and your ganking routes around those spawns and don't give them up for free. After taking his jungle, I make sure to use my lead to get a gank off of my top laner to help him get a nice good lead over the Mundo as well, because the Mundo will scale. I take my whole topside jungle, and now Fiddle has literally nothing on the map to farm from his jungle and my topside jungle, except to try and steal my blue. I tell my team to rotate and they collapse on him and it forces his flash out. He's only level 5. Here I get super greedy just like I did in the last game, but I go into his jungle right now to try and steal his red, but at this point the enemy has sort of caught on to how much I'm doing this, and they've started to rotate to help him out, because they have to. I managed to just about escape. I heal up from farming all of my blue side jungle, and then guess what? I go right back. I don't go back to my base, I go straight back and keep that pressure on him hard. I don't want him to farm his jungle without seeing me. I don't want him to get back into the game from farming, and I want to ward so he can't get off any sneaky ults. I intercept him and steal his raptors in his face, and at this point he's level 5 and I'm level 8. 3 level lead this early in the game, and once again I'm on the cusp of that ideal 60 CS at 12 minutes. Which is hard to achieve in most games, but a good focal point to base around. If you have 60 CS at 12 minutes, but the enemy has 12 kills and you're 0-0-0, not contributing at all, that's bad. But if you have near that CS with a couple kills, assists, and a dragon, you've done well. Naturally, I get too cheeky again and Syndra comes to help me out, but we get collapsed on and we die. This allows him some catch-up XP and gets him back into the game relatively. But fortunately, we've also killed him in a counter gank on the mid lane, and every lane is now ahead because of the pressure I applied. Every time their team has to rotate and assist him, my team gains more CS and more tower pressure. It causes a huge advantage for everyone, even considering that they were winning by themselves. It gives that lead even more oomph. The amount of presence in his jungle has put his team so far behind that my winning lanes are winning harder, and we simply roll to victory in this game pretty quickly. Yeah, they have a few good team fights because they had a good team fight comp, but our lead allowed us to, as long as we played it smart, finish the game nice and smoothly. Okay, so I hope you can get an understanding for how to snowball an experienced lead and not get caught up in the experience catch-up. Yes, in the Fiddles game's case, he did catch up a bit, but he was always at least 1 or 2 levels down for the rest of the game, and it was only because of a few mistakes on our end. We still had enough of a lead to close out the game, and in the first example, we kept that lead in the jungler because every time they did anything, we did something more, either on the other side of the map or in their face. Please counter jungle that like button if you learned something and enjoyed the video, subscribe for more League educational content, talk to me down in the comments and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.